swap, teams have been able to go off of some of the things that they're very comfortable with, being able to use them to great effect. And I think one time, Dranos, we saw the Bear come out with the legendary for Necrotic, but otherwise we've been seeing teams sticking to what they know, and here it is.
Ooh.
Here come the Shamans as Halls of Atonement gets rolling.
Yeah, here we go. Both teams getting started here with massive pulls on the left-hand side into this first shard. Is this double shard? It is double shard. So
yes,
here's the thing. Here's the deal. The Ancestral Guidance, it can heal through 2 Thrashes. You can see, yeah, they're going to have double ticks here of the Thrash coming out.
What? What is this? 7k HPS for both of these Shamans? Just, where the healer's in 3rd place! The healer's in 3rd place in healing right now for both teams! Alright, now J.Bucko coming in hot with some heals, but man, that looked really good from both sides. I mean, Bloodlust popped on both angles. You do see that Pride is spawning on both ends with the with the shard still alive there for PI. I mean, kind of scary there at the very end, but both teams starting to stabilize their HP. They're starting to focus down that Pride, and PI is going to get this Pride down just moments ahead.
I actually feel no mercy for the Holy Paladins, not showing up on the healing meters, because they do that to all the DPS players on the damage meters all the time. So it really a taste of their own medicine there being delivered to the Holy Paladins. You can see both teams getting 27% trash count and 2 of those 3 Shard of Halkias mini-bosses taken care of with their very first pulls. Now they're getting to a much more conservative, respectable 13% trash count roughly pull here into this kind of middle section. This is still quite dangerous here, but this should be the spawning of their 40% prides, unless I'm mistaken. Good kiting of the Spiteful Shades as they're spawning there. Ring of Frost actually being used to pretty great effect against those Spiteful Shades as well. It's a really strong talent against that Affix, because not only does it root them, but even if the root breaks, it'll slow them for basically their entire lifetime. And you can see the teams just only have to move like 10 or 15 yards to not have to deal with the Spiteful Shades at all. Both teams now working on that 40% pride. Golden Guardians have actually snuck an extra 3% into their pathing as well.
I have an inquiry. What is up with Night Fae Ellie? Like, I actually don't necessarily know what Night Fae Shaman does. And it's like a really uncommon pick on live.
It is a less popular live Covenant for them. It's pretty good, though. It's a pretty good effect. So the Fae Transfusion ability, it's an AoE damage thing on a 2-minute cooldown. And it also has healing attached to it as well, that not only heals you, but it can heal up to 4 allies within 20 yards as well when you fire it off. So combined with the Ancestral Guidance, a Fae Transfusion can provide a lot of extra healing to your group, and that's really allowing these players. I mean, you can see Clix right now is top HPS for PI Meat with the combination
Look at Lip.
Of the Fae Transfusion and the Ancestral Guidance. Both of those abilities really, really coming in big there. It's not something you see as much on the live servers because it does work so well on that kind of 4 to 5 target range, which it's rare to see people choosing their Covenants based on that kind of pretty specific niche. But in a situation like this, it works out really well. And, that Ellie Shaman, they also do get to play the Necrolords in the Necrolord dungeons, too. We have seen the Necrolord Shaman coming out so far this weekend as well. So I think it is a strength of the spec that it has those versatile Covenant options.
So interestingly enough, just talking about the players who are playing the Shaman, Lip, very well-known multi-class where the guy plays basically everything. Clix has played Shaman like lately. That guy played Ellie as his main through Eternal Palace. Played it in BOD, played it a lot in Crucible of Storms. I mean, he's played Ellie and plays it very frequently as well. So we have 2 people who, it's as funny as it sounds, actually play Elemental not an insignificant amount, which is not something that you have typically on the back burner. Not normally somebody who knows how to just play Ellie.
Especially if you already have a Shadow Priest in the group, right? The odds are so good.
Exactly.
If you talked to me a year ago about these rosters, the odds are so good that the best Shadow Priests on each of these teams would have also been the best Elemental Shaman, right? That's, I think, a pretty standard thing for MDI teams, is that you have maybe 1 or 2 ranged players and maybe 1 or 2 caster players and like a hunter as well. And so the fact that both teams have reached this kind of roster depth to have such qualified and skilled players picking up the ability to switch their comps around like this is really impressive. And I mean, both teams here making short work of Halkias with all of this trash pulled on top as well. And all those Spiteful Shades as well during this Synlight phase is a little bit scary, but they are able to get through it on the side of Piami. Golden Guardians also reaching that same point now, 79% trash count while they're fighting this boss. And what they
no. That was almost a tragedy.
Yeah, the hurled debris there. No, Curry down on the side of Piami. Actually, that is going to be their battle res that will be committed after they can find him, but they actually don't have a instant cast battle res. They have to use the engineering res there. It does eventually come out, so they are going to be able to recover a little bit here, but that is 5 seconds and some extra damage lost there on the side of Piami that I think is going to put a slight lead now in favor of Golden Guardians. Halkias, though, very close in health percentage here. Dr. J is on fire, dealing a lot of damage here to Halkias. Yeah, they're going to go down right around the same time.
Yeah, I think I would slightly prefer Golden Guardian's position here just based off the 5 seconds of death differential. That seems like that's the only real difference in these two teams. We've basically been watching the exact same run just side by side the whole entire time. The same pulls going. I mean, these are very similar to what the pulls that we saw at the end of last season were. Interestingly enough, you do see that Pride coming out for the side of Golden Guardians, it being Invis Potion immediately. They're able to skip that. Piami looking to do something very similar. Oh, and they get theirs off as well. So both of those teams skipping that 80% Pride, utilizing those invisibility potions to be able to get that. Golden Guardians are going to be able to make it to Halkias somewhere in the range of like 10 seconds before that of Piami. Did I say Halkias? I'm in Echelon. Echelon about 10 seconds before on the side of Piami. Get that boss pulled and immediately start dumping damage into it.
Yeah, one nice little piece of utility that the Shaman brings here as well is a Curse Dispel. So that both these teams have the Mage and the Shaman able to dispel curses, which means not only the targeted player, but also some extra damage dealer will be able to keep pumping into the boss during that Stone Curse phase.
So, Dratnos, did you know that if you do have a decurse, you're actually not allowed to dispel Holy Paladins at all?
Oh, of course not, yeah.
It's against the rules. You're just not allowed to dispel them. They have to either pop a bubble or they have to bop themselves if they get targeted. I don't make the rules.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me. If you dispel them, they might beat you in damage as well, which is not something you want to run the risk of happening.
Then they'll make fun of you. And be like, why are you getting beat by a Holy Paladin while they're top DPS at like 11k?
Yeah. Both Paladins here hitting a respectable, though, right around the tank damage here. It looks like this is not the big set of Paladin damage. They will be ascending, though, later on in this dungeon. One thing that adds to the Paladins overall as well is the mind-controlled Goliaths in this dungeons. Those were nerfed a little bit in patch 9.0.5 in terms of the amount of damage they put out, but they still contribute a huge amount of extra damage, and that's one big benefit to bringing a Venthyr player to this dungeon. Of course, Holy Paladins contractually obligated to play Venthyr. Oh my goodness, Shakib down for Golden Guardians. They are going to get the res off. Fired Up is walking over there to cast the engineering res. It looks like he's going to have to actually get inside the puddle because Shakib died right in the middle of a puddle. There's no way to stand in range of that Engi res. It is such a short range ability without actually getting into the puddle itself. So that is some damage that's coming out. They are going to be able to recover, but now both teams on equal timer from the death differential. Echelon actually dying a little bit faster here for Piami.
I think that actually just comes down to the healer damage difference. I don't know if Igloo had his Ashen. I would suspect not. But, like, Holy Paladin does a stupid amount of damage even whenever they don't have... That was very low. They got very low there.
So Piami actually didn't kill their first set of imps. Something went awry with the killing of the first set of imps, and they just had them all resurrect there, and then they all died, and that actually represented a huge amount of damage onto the group, but they are able to get through it. Does cost them a little bit of time there at the end. They have to heal everybody up before they get started with this next pull, which is going to be 9 very hostile enemies.
This is it.
Two friendly gargoyles and this mini boss, or the third boss here. And yeah, good.
This is like the last major point of the dungeon for like time losses or time saves. Basically, you're going to watch High Adjudicator's HP. That will be the final mob that is going to die here, and that is going to be the mob that it controls the pacing of this pack. If you're able to continue to just cleave High Adjudicator, not really focus on any of the trash, and not worry about the rest of that, and the trash will just die passively, then you're going to be in a significantly better position than if you just had to blow all of your cooldowns into like things such as AoE combusting, and things like that. If you have to just spend resources on AoEing as opposed to being able to just do immense amounts of single target damage, then you're in a worse position. Spiteful Shades are coming out, very scary from both sides, but I mean, both teams are at the exact same point on High Adjudicator right now, Dratnos.
Yeah, they are. Both teams have made a very similar decision about how much damage to focus into the boss versus how much cleave to get done. It does look like it was an AoE combustion, some AoE coming out of the Elemental Shaman as well. With the Legendary that they're playing that one where Earthshock makes your next Earthquake hit like a truck. And so you basically, I mean, you're still funneling Earthshocks into the High Adjudicator and also getting some Earthquake value out there. And yeah, I mean, these bosses are neck and neck here.
So something that you may be able to see off to the side is that both teams, I think, still have one of the Stoneborns available to them. Something that we've seen sometimes happen is that teams will snap one of the Stoneborns into the Inquisitor's Cigar room and mind control him and use him to one-phase Cigar in between his stuck casts on all of those ads. And what that does is it allows you to be able to save a lot of time. You don't have to end up killing the small I don't know, channeling ads that sit on top of those pews, and you're able to just kind of hit the boss. Okay, so PIME here has pulled their Stoneborn. You're going to see him get MC'd right before they end up going through this mirror, and something similar is probably going to happen for Golden Guardians. Right now, these teams are neck and neck, though, and I think it's just going to come down to a damage race at the very end.
Yeah, it's going to be PIME making it through slightly ahead of where the Guardians are. They are getting right onto Cigar here. No effective damage is possible until the boss finishes its cast, right? That first channel anyways. But then as soon as that happens, you are on the clock. You need to get this thing dead before it gets to its next channel, or else it will fully heal, and you will have accomplished nothing. However, they are way ahead of the check for that. This boss is melting.
I think the timer for this is 30 seconds in between the casts of the heal. So you do see PIME. They do a great job of getting that mob down. Unfortunately, it looked like somebody got targeted by a Spiteful Shade and were in combat, so they weren't able to actually skip this Pride. It looked like they were trying to position to Invis Potion it off. I'm not 100% sure. Golden Guardians...
They can't either because... So they lost their Stoneborn right when they were going to Invis Pot, and that puts you in combat.
Oh, it combated them?
Yeah.
That's so tragic.
Yes.
That's so unlucky.
So both teams unable to skip their prides here, and I think if either team had done so, they would have won this game. You could see that was exactly what Golden Guardians were trying to do there, but it did not pan out for them, and they are now going to have to kill this Pride. They are somewhere in the range of 30% of a Pride's health behind where PIME is, but that is not an insurmountable lead here. PIME are going to get started on this boss, but it is a 20 Tyrannical. Here comes the Bloodlust. Here comes all of their cooldowns, and they are going to try... Actually, they don't have Ashen Hallow available just yet. It looks like JB does have his wings up. We'll see if that means that he also has the Ashen Hallow here on pull. If so, that might mean that they get a little bit more damage here. Yeah, if they get to combine that with all of their cooldowns. It doesn't look like they've pulled the trigger on the Bloodlust just yet, so maybe they are waiting. There it goes. There is the Bloodlust, and yeah, it looks like JB is actually going to be holding his wings here for a bit until he gets back to his Ashen Hallow. And I mean, yeah,
he popped him right there.
I think that was maybe a proc. They play that proc trait, yeah, because you can see the cooldown remains unused up at the top of the screen there. And Lord Chamberlain now at 49% health for PIME, whereas it is at 57% for Golden Guardians. So it's 10% now. It's closing. There's the Ashen Hallows coming down, so both teams are going to have advantage there. I mean, neither team has an advantage relative to the other on the Ashen Hallow timing. 27% to 34. The gap is closing now. It's sub 10% between these teams. 3% health now separating these two bosses.
You guys gotta go!
They are accelerating here. Is it going to be enough, though? 1% now separating these two bosses' health, both at 13% at the same time. And now Golden Guardians are actually in the lead.
My gosh!
They have the boss somehow lower. There's the Elysian Decrees now coming out as well. 4% versus 7, and somehow Golden Guardians...
the Golden Guardians are going to do it!
They've just snuck a little bit more damage in here, and they're going to win this game!
Oh, my goodness.
No way.
Are you kidding me? Golden Guardians, even though they killed the Pride later, they had way more damage. You got to look at that sigh of relief on the face of JB as he takes that victory with the team. They're up. Golden Guardians 1-0 right now in Halls. That is ridiculous, Zyro.
I'm completely dumbfounded. That was just pure single target pump pushing Golden Guardians ahead of PIME there. Nothing else. They were 10% behind. Man, that's crazy.
That is the second time today, both in the Venthyr dungeons as well, Dratnos. We saw it at the Sanguine Depths on call. We just saw it there with Chamberlain. It's ridiculous. A little 5-6 second difference on that one.
Oh my goodness, the ending of that dungeon was incredible. I don't know how Golden Guardians were able to squeeze out that much more damage at the end, but they were somehow able to do it. And that was the difference here. 6 seconds between these two teams is so close. But PIME pulled that boss like 15 seconds ahead of Golden Guardians. So they accelerated so much.
Dratnos, what you don't know is it's through the power of trance music and chest hair. That is what increased their damage by enough to be able to take it home there.
I'm just looking at back now.
Special powers.
When Golden Guardians pulled the boss, PIME had the boss at 70%. They were 30% behind on that boss at the pull, and they just, through brute force and sheer DPS, pulled that out somehow. That is crazy.
That is obscene. And I don't think Call was that far away when we saw the previous matchup.
It was
on
more.
That one. Oh, it was even more.
General
Okay.
Call was
Call was at like 60%. Yeah.
Well,
half
she
of
phases
the
at
health you have to do.
50%. So
Yeah, so
okay,
that was 50
okay,
effectively. Yeah.
Got it.
So
I mean, teams when they're ready to blast that final boss, it seems to be paying off huge.
Well, the crazy thing is, it's not like they had a different set of cooldowns available as each other. They both had Lust,
True.
they both had Ashen Hallow,
True.
they both had everything, and somehow
They're playing the same comp.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's inexplicable. I don't know where Golden Guardians found that 30 extra percent of the boss's health, but somewhere, I mean, maybe they crit more, maybe they greeted and stood under the boss in a more effective way and were able to keep damaging during those Door of Shadows phases. I have no idea. That's something that is going to be a mystery for me. I'm gonna rewatch the tape on that one.
That's
Maybe get the
right
Warcraft
there.
logs on this one just to break it down or something like that. It's ridiculous onto it. But, Halls, right from the very beginning, Zyra, you were talking about the power of the Ellie Shaman, and this is just like the case study for why it is so good. Double shards of Halkias into one pull. Obscene.
It's so fulfilling to predict something will happen and then see the exact thing happen on your screen. But yeah, like we mentioned, the
You look
power
really
of the
smart with it, too.
ancestral guidance. The power of the ancestral guidance there, man. It's just so good specifically for this use case and for other use cases as well, right? In a couple of those pulls, we saw almost 10k HPS coming out of the Ellie Shamans. It's just ridiculous. It lets your healer pump as much as they want.
Yep. And at that point, it's really just going to be looking at, for these teams, how well prepared that they have been for just those pulls over and over. We kind of think of like Halls as being one of those dungeons as well, which can be easier to practice because it's a lot of the pressure at the very beginning of the instance. You're not having some crazy technical pulls at the very end, like where we talked about in the past titles about how it might be harder to test out some of the pulls for like the other side when you get the haste buff at the very end of the instance and get everything rolling at the right time. Whereas Halls, you got everything right there, right in front of you, right at the start.
Yeah, and I think that also helps you a lot whenever you're trying to test new comps, like going into these lower duration dungeons, like these 14-minute dungeons, and trying out new comps, because very quickly, like, you can just run it back if you make a mistake on the first like 3 pulls. Whereas if the hardest pull happens, 28 minutes into your DOS, you're gonna have a bunch of difficulty being able to replicate that run and try again. Again, I thought that the comps for both sides, there's a reason that Ellie Shaman was played, and I thought that it looked really strong, especially with how they were using AG and that Night Fae Covenant.
Yeah, no question. Let's start setting our sights here on Plaguefall as well, Dratnos. We've been seeing the kind of differences as well between teams opting for more of the brute force, trying to go with finesse for any of the wonder growth. There's Night Elf, Shadow Meld skips that we saw as well in the Obey Alliance DGS series. Of course, didn't work out for DGS. So what are we going to be looking for in this one?
This is 2 of the most iconic mage mains we have in the MDI here, Dr. J and Fired Up against each other in a dungeon where one of the available strategies is built around turning your mage into a massive fireballing machine, right? And Fired Up has been one of the players with Golden Guardians that have really used that Wonder Grow strategy the most in our previous Cup weekends. So I'm curious to see if they'll decide to do it, because it hasn't always looked that great. It has often been defeated by the ignore the Wonder Grow and go Plague Borer strategy. But I'm sure that both of these teams have tried all different kinds of iterations of doing this dungeon, trying the Wonder Grow, ignoring it, skipping it like Obey Alliance did to win their game against DGS earlier. So maybe we'll see that kind of move coming out of both these teams. I would be surprised if we saw the full Night Elf action. I think that both of these teams are pretty likely to land on that Holy Paladin life. But
On a Paladin, yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there's some compelling action with the 5 Night Elves, so maybe. I mean, it is a dungeon where it's so hard to figure out what the theoretical best play is through here.
Yep, and as we get to see our little statistics here, looking at Tyrannical Globgrog titles, you're the one who wanted to see the stats onto this one. What do you got for us?
Dude, this boss, I feel like people will just like fiesta this dungeon sometimes, and I feel like it almost always comes off the back of just letting the boss heal to Beckon Slime, because if you end up just having like bad cooldowns or whatever for that Beckon Slime cast and any of the slimes connect with the boss, then you're like if the Smorgasbord touches the boss, then you're basically ruined for the rest of the run. And it's one of those things that the comps don't have a ton of CC to be able to stop the ads that are running at them, so they just like all in commit on it. Interestingly enough, the Holy Paladin does bring a little bit more CC than the Disc Priest because they do have access to Turn Evil, which works on the slimes. But again, you're not wanting to stop DPS to actually CC them. You'd rather just continue to kill the boss through.
True. I would never want to stop DPS to use Turn Evil titles. Not one bit.
Well, you're also a priest, Jack, so you can't do that.
No, we were running together on my Paladin. You already forgot. Oh, well. Game number 2 going to be rolling between PIV and Golden Guardians with the latter up 1 right now. We're going to be moving on here into Plaguefall.
Alrighty. So I want to see what comps they're running. Okay, so interestingly enough, the only difference is we're seeing a Shadow Priest for the side of Golden Guardians versus the Windwalker Monk from the side of PI
And the Disc Priest, actually.
Disc Priest, yeah.
Yes.
The Disc Priest versus the Holy Paladin.
Which means there is that 5 Night Elf comp on the side of PI.
Yes.
This was the comp difference and battle that we saw earlier in Plaguefall as well, is the Paladin versus the Priest. And both teams, though, neither are going to do that skip to first boss that we saw out of Obey Alliance last time. And they are both going to be working here on this massive trash pull. Yoda there looks like a Darkness being procced there from the Darkness Legendary. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that both of these Demon Hunters are actually playing a Necrolord for this dungeon. Yes, they are. So that is going to allow them to get that dungeon bonus of the ooze flesh crafting.
This pull is so difficult to pull off on Sanguine. That pull is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, in the dungeon to be able to do on Sanguine, because you have the mobs that are getting potentially healed just over and over again. PI they don't have a Fungalmancer with them. They're electing to leave that behind. They're looking like they're going to grab some Plague Borers, potentially to pull into Globgrog. Maybe they're just going to do some of this trash and wait for cooldowns to come up. I'm not 100% sure. But on Live Realms, you do see you see a lot of teams grab this double Plague Borer set that you see in front of us right now, and they'll pull them into Globgrog. But I wonder what PI is going to do, because they're just kind of standing. I hate this. I hate that they're standing here.
Well, they're at 19% right now, so it would be really nice for them to trigger a Pride and potentially kill that and Globgrog with the Plague Borers. But what is a good way to get to 20% count? It doesn't seem like there necessarily is one available. So it looks like they're going to be... Yeah, I mean, it looks like they are focusing damage into the Spinebreaker, so maybe that's the plan. You kill the Spinebreaker, you get your 20% Pride, and then you take that with the Plague Borers onto Globgrog. I'm not sure if that's what they're up to. It looks like Igloo is...
Look at what's Golden Guardians doing.
Okay, yeah, Golden Guardians into boss, but Lip is down for them. And so they are getting into boss here. Yeah, they got him up. Fired Up here does have that Wonder Grow, all those stacks on him, and the Prideful buff. But somehow his damage done is extremely
The boss is healing.
low here.
The boss is healing Sanguine. The boss is healing Sanguine. Oh no! The PI and the Combust coming in for Fired Up, but the boss literally just healed it all back up. That is so bad for Golden Guardians.
Yeah, they're keeping this Fungal Mancer here. They get the Turn Evil on the big slime. The Frost Nova on the little ones as Fired Up is forced to do all this utility work while he is this massive damage buffed mage. That has not got to be a good feeling there. He turns into a giant soul-shaped frog as well. Dragon Breath and Ring of Frost. These are not the globals you're looking for when you have all this damage buff on you, and it's not going to be enough to stop these slimy morsels from making their way into Globgrog's tummy
Oh, this
either.
is so bad.
Yeah,
This is
Globgrog.
so bad for
I mean,
Golden
they've dealt
Guardians.
like 3 full health bars of Globgrog's health, but it's not gonna stop him as he keeps healing up for them. Meanwhile, Piami, they have their Pride buff. They have the same trash count as well. They're working on Globgrog, and somehow they're actually not even clearly ahead at this point, even though all of these things have gone so much better for them. Yoda's Darkness going to proc once again from that Darkness Legendary. He is trying to stay alive here, trying to keep tanking, but look at all of these smorgasbords now.
no.
There's so much stuff coming. It's going to be the Fear Sigil, but that'll only last them for 20 seconds before
I
it
think they
breaks.
got this.
I think they can get through this as well, but the slimy morsels are about to reach the boss, and Yoda's going to have to start running in a big kite there. It's going to be the Ring of Frost once again, but one morsel is going to make it to the boss. That's going to heal it up to 12%. They need to keep these smorgasbords away from the boss, but there's so
Oh, gosh.
many of them.
There's the Plague Belcher.
They're kiting into the puddle now as well. Oh no! 5%, 12%, it's healed up once again. One of the morsels has reached it, and they are trying to hide here. Yoda, though, Shakib goes down for Golden Guardians, and Fired Up is cauterized here. The
Please kill the
Grievous
boss.
on him
No!
as well. The
No!
boss back up to 44% health. Golden Guardians have been vanquished here by Globgrog. This is going to be a catastrophic full team wipe for them that they have tried their best to recover from. It will not be enough as Piami are able to finish off Globgrog, carefully avoiding that. They're actually fairly close to the spot at which it resets there, but they have avoided it. And so both teams now at the same percent health or percent count through the dungeon, but Piami have a boss and 7 deaths in their favor. Golden Guardian's going to have to go back to the drawing board here, and they will not have a Pride buff for this boss. Looks like they are going to be pulling that Fungal Mancer, which reset, and they will be getting their Wonder Grow stacks from it once again. But, I mean, just like our last series in Plaguefall and the last few that I remember in this dungeon, I can't help but thinking, is this Wonder Grow nonsense really worth it? It hasn't seemed like it's been able to win a game against the more focused, speedy, Plague Boar-focused strategy instead.
Yes, exactly. Now Golden Guardians, they're retooling and trying to figure out how they want to make their way through this dungeon still. They do still have that Fungal Mancer they're bringing along with them, so they're trying to get, oh gosh, what are they trying to get? The Prideful buff at this point, and they're going to retool and try to pull again, Dratnos? What do you think?
Maybe, yeah. This is going to be a very interesting decision point for them, is how exactly they adjust their route, because
Exactly.
there's so much preparation and practice of the strategy that goes into these dungeons, but it is no longer possible for them to execute their strategy, right? They just don't have that first boss with all the buffs that they wanted. There's no way to turn back the clock and get all that stuff again. So they have to adapt. They have to change their plan. And I think what they are going to try and do is take the 40% Pride onto boss and recreate the original situation that way. But on the side of Piami, they are just going to be dealing with all this trash as they had planned. Their strategy is still entirely on the rails. It's going to be the Ring of Peace that no other team in this dungeon has yet had access to. This is the first team we've seen bring that Windwalker in here, and it does provide a tremendous amount of extra control for this Sanguine Affix that's allowing them to keep the mobs from healing. They're spawning their Pride now. They're not going to... Oh, they have one Plague Boar for it. So the Plague Boar that it was polymorphed over there is going to be brought in here to help out with this Pride. Once that Plague Boar explodes, it will take care of almost all of the Pride's health.
Yeah, the debuff on that Plague Boar would definitely kill a Pride, especially on like a plus 20 Keystone level. That's something that we didn't really talk too much about, but one of the differences between going from an 18 to a 20 is that the Plague Boar bombing strategy is a lot more profitable now, just due to the fact that it's harder to be able to like manually kill a bunch of these trash packs in a time period that is just like super reasonable. Like otherwise you would just prefer to bomb everything. You just kind of have to wait the amount of time that you're spending killing it manually versus bombing it. And it looks like Rentari in the side of PI, I mean, they're looking to manually kill this pack. It seems like they're not even messing around with the first 2 plague borers that end up spawning from that mini boss.
Yeah, it's a great point. The calculus really does change as the Keystone level goes up. You know, when we have our Great Push event in a month, I think we will see teams making use of Plague Borers for this entire trash section.
Exactly.
And the way you can think about this, if it doesn't make sense to you conceptually, is, you know, your Fireball is going to do less and less % of a mob's health every time you cast it as the key level's going up, right? But the Plague Borers stay the same.
The Plague Borer scale.
Yeah, they will continue doing the same percentage of a mob's health and damage. In fact, sometimes more. I think with Fortified, they actually scale up faster than the mob's health scale. So they become extremely, extremely valuable. And the calculus has changed from when we were in the plus 18 key levels earlier in the season. I think it will continue to change as the Keystone level keeps going up.
Exactly. So one of the things that we saw from the 18 is that we saw a very infrequent bombing and a lot of like manually killing trash packs. Whereas now on the 20, you're still seeing some groups like manually killing packs, but it's only whenever you have like all of your offensive cooldowns up, and then you just like blow everything into one pack, and then you just go and bomb in the intermediate, and you just kind of wait it out. Right now, you do see PI they're bombing this mini boss. I wonder if they're going to use the final 2 Plague Borer bombs. Oh, what? They got this pestilent slime. What are they doing?
Yeah, curious. I think that was
Where does this come
CC'd off
from?
earlier. Igloo is taking a lot of damage, though. He's going to go down. So is Clicks. Dr. J perishing as well here. They are spawning their Pride, and it looks like they are going to be forced to die and release here. And this is a huge opening back up into the game for Golden Guardians. I mean, this full team wipe for PI, it wasn't as costly as Golden Guardians was, because Golden Guardians died in the middle of a boss pull. So not only did they have to run back, but they also have to kill a boss again that they've already killed. But it certainly opens the door back up. Both teams certainly now in the same conversation here. Good.
PI has a 1 minute run back that they have to get now. Like that even longer potentially. A minute and a half run back, something just ridiculously long to be able to make it back to the Ickis room. Where on the side of Golden Guardians, they have already gotten their first boss down. They retooled and repulled Globgrog earlier, and they finally actually end up killing off their Fungal Mancer, and they're just making their way through the instance. I think this is actually neck and neck now, Dranos.
Yeah, absolutely.
As poorly as the Golden Guardian start has happened, what just happened to PI there? The wipe wasn't as bad because they weren't on a boss, but the run back time may as well have made it just equally as terrible.
Yeah, and Golden Guardians here doing a great job of speeding up as well and getting both of these tentacles here killed with the same wave of Plague Borers. Yoda now going to be grabbing this next 2 and taking them into the mini-boss. Okay, not over to the 2 tentacles together on the side. And so once they kill this mini-boss with these Plague Borers, they will be spawning their 60% Pride, which if they time this right, they will have another wave of Plague Borers to help with as well. Looks like Fired Up is going to go on a mission there. Look at that. He's cast his Alter Time, which is going to allow him to go back to where he was in a sec. So he's going to use his Ring of Peace here. Oh, he's taking a lot of damage, but he alters all the way back up. Yeah, to full health and to his old position. And you can see they're using this Ring of Frost to let them group everything up. And this Pride plus these 3 trash mobs are going to be all taken care of with the same explosions here. Yoda gets hit by one of those boasts, though, that prideful stun. The Plague Binder is kept off, CC'd in a cage. They aren't going to be able to break that one out for now. So just going to be 2 of these 3 trash mobs and the Pride taken care of with their final Plague Borers of the dungeon. But I mean, they're ahead now of where PI is. PI had to kill off that Pride, and they're now going into... Actually, they're going into a massive trash bowl here. This is neck and neck. I don't have a favorite right now between these 2 teams. It's worth noting that there is a 10-second death differential as well that is in favor of PI.
I think that... Honestly, it looks like Golden Guardians, I would say, are favored because they do have all of their offensive cooldowns available here, whereas PI's cadence is they're a little bit behind. PI has popped their Bloodlust, though, and I'm interested to see if Golden Guardians is going to elect to use theirs, or are they going to elect to use theirs during one of the intermission phases to try to burn through one of the bombs, potentially both of the bombs, even.
Yeah, it looks like Golden Guardian's just going to leave a Spinebreaker alive as well. It's going to be coming with them. They need to watch out for that frontal, though. There's actually a lot of deadly ground effects with this mob in here and the boss. I mean, there's a lot of spots on these platforms that will kill you if you stand in them. Looks like they are ignoring the bomb as well, so look for some cooldowns.
That little bomb
to be
doesn't
used.
scale with key level.
The plague bomb, the
you're
big
talking-
bomb.
Yeah, you're talking the plague bomb.
The
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
bomb, the little bomb is safe to ignore. The big bomb though is going to require an AMZ. There it is. AMZ coming down. The entire team getting in there. Fired up is going to go and DB and ice block out there, and they are okay. They've survived that explosion. Did cause them quite a bit of damage, but it saves them a lot of damage as well to not have to deal with it. Now they have to make sure they don't stand on too many of these all at once. The little metamorphosizing oozes there, because if you touch really 2 of them at this key level, you're probably going to be in some trouble. They need to make sure they're managing the Sanguine as well here. Turn Evil going to be used on that congealed
Nice.
slime. Very useful paladin ability here. You may not have it on your bars necessarily, but it is worth putting on for this dungeon, and actually worth socketing that finesse conduit that speeds up its cast time as well. And they will be using that here to make sure that they can manage those slimes in this section and earlier in the dungeon too.
Yep. Ickis is actually dropping faster for PI me there. They were able to get him into his 33% second phase just slightly ahead. Whereas on the side of Golden Guardians, they move Ickis to a different platform and have him leap back onto this one?
Yes.
I'm confused.
So maybe they've figured out a way to make it leap onto this platform every
To
time.
control it?
Yeah, or maybe they were just bringing it away from where the purple slime was, the platform where there was the purple slime running around.
Potentially.
Because it does, when you're turned evil, you're kind of just running around a little bit randomly away from everybody, but maybe they didn't want to have to deal with that, as it looks like the second plague bomb is going to be not exploding there. Golden Guardians deploying enough damage to get through there, but Piami have also killed that boss and are maybe 5 seconds ahead, plus 10 seconds of death differential. So it is Piami that are slightly in the lead here as they are making their way into the middle platform. The Golden Guardians are having none of it, though.
Where are Golden Guardians going?
They are going on an adventure here. They have
They're
booked
going through the beta route.
an exotic seaside resort here, going through the beautiful slime of the Plaguefall. Beautiful pathing there that's going to avoid pulling any of those tendies. And they have now gotten through, heading towards the ambusher section here. So they do need to find some more count relative to Piami. Piami having gotten their count a little bit higher once they finished off this little island. What Golden Guardians are going to need to do is at some point, either after the boss or before, they might have to go back. And actually, no, I think they're fine. Actually, I think they have enough to not even need to backtrack here. Because I think that this is just going to work out for them in terms of
You
count.
need like 81. I think you need 81%. It's either 81 or 82%. It's slightly over the pride spawning, but I wonder if Golden Guardians are going to skip this 80% pride. It looks like the answer is
Doesn't
no
look
because
like
they're
it's
still stuck
possible.
in combat with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I don't think they were really trying to either. If they were trying to, they would have been focusing damage on those Stealthlings or trying to stop the cast of the Stealthlings.
Sure.
Meanwhile, Piami working on this same trash pack here over on the side. This will get them
Okay.
more than enough count to be done with the dungeon afterwards. But I think Golden Guardians, I think they need 1 or 2 trash mobs, and then they will have enough to jump down as well. Or maybe they can just head down and grab the oozes that are downstairs as well. The ones off in the little side corridor, and that might be enough for them too. So they are working on this pride. If Piami can skip this pride, we might be in business here. It looks like they are attempting...
Yeah.
No, they're not. They are also going to be pulling this pride. It looks like with a little bit
I
of
think-
trash as well, maybe.
Look at this. Oh, look at this. Golden Guardians is about to just send it on the boss with the trash pack. That's really ambitious, but they have everything for it. Okay, so this is what they saved their bloodlust for. We saw Piami use their lust on the Ickis stuff earlier, which is how they were able to claw back. Whereas Golden Guardians, this is what we talk about whenever we're talking about like bloodlust usage. It's typically best used on bosses with pride, or it's able to facilitate a pull. This, for Golden Guardians, is both. It's facilitating a pull where all these ambushers and spiderlings and all this stuff are into the boss, plus pride. And, like, this is a really good use of their bloodlust for the side of Golden Guardians. I wonder what Piami on their end is going to do. I wonder if they're able to do a similar pull. But they don't need the count, is something that should also be said. They really don't need the trash. So I think that they're probably going to leave it. And I think that this is also why they're running that 5 Nelf comp, because they're just going to meld the stuff off later.
Yeah, so they have it all CC'd right now, and they're currently in combat with it, but it's not a big deal. They will be able to hit meld afterwards and then drop combat with this. So that is exactly what they are up to here. But like you said, I mean, there's so much power in that Paladin Ashen Hallow when lined up with Lust that it has allowed Golden Guardians to just do a ridiculous combination of trash and a really, really tough boss here. Dominant Venom Blade on plus 20, even with Fortified active instead of Tyrannical, is not to be messed around with. and Golden Guardians have destroyed it here. And they have several seconds now in their favor, as Dominant Venom Blade still at 55% for PIME. Golden Guardians firmly in the lead here, and they are heading now downstairs. If they can deal with this section cleanly, if they can avoid the mini-boss, Sanguine healing, any kind of disaster like that, they were in great position here in this game, where they ended up wiping and resetting on the first boss at 10% health. Let's not forget that happened.
That was, it feels like a very long time ago that did happen, Dratnos. It feels almost as if it was in a different run. But now Golden Guardians, they were able to recover, not like in the way that you prefer. They did have a wipe, but they were able to keep their composure and didn't tilt off the planet, and were able to effectively just have a clean run after all of those issues that did happen at the very beginning. And right now, they're pretty solidly in the lead. They need to make sure that they don't heal up Ichor Bileflesh, though, because Sanguine on this guy is really annoying. He does teleport at 66 and 33%, so you can control whenever he does his ghost step. And basically here, they've killed off all the ads, so there's nowhere for him to ghost step to inside of Sanguine, so this is fine. Golden Guardians do a great job of being able to coordinate that, though, getting him out of the Sanguine and getting the ads moved and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, look at those beautiful Sanguine puddles all nicely stacked up on top of each other. Ooh. And unlike the other teams that we've seen in here today, they are going to be able to skip this Pride. Yeah, you can see they are max ranging Ichor Bileflesh so that they will be spawning this Pride in the back of the room. It does spawn a little bit in front of them. That's a little bit awkward, but as long as they're careful of that section of the boss room, they should be all right. That is now a fail case for them, though, potentially, is if that Pride pulls unexpectedly, that could let PIME back into this game.
Interestingly enough, too, the Pride sometimes, if you're engaged in boss combat, can go invisible. He's still there, and he can still aggro during the middle of boss combat, so be very scared. Golden Guardians, they have a terrible malignant spawn position, but you do see they're edging all the way as far to the right, as far away from that Pride as they possibly can, because they know, like you said, that is a fail case for them. If they pull that Pride, their run is over. They're going to lose.
I mean, they still have wings. Oh, Shakib gets taken down by one of those tendies. There is the res from Lip, but they are now out of battle res. Clicks down for PIME. That's going to be a battle res for them. They are down to one. One battle res will be returned to both of these teams in the next couple seconds, though, so it won't be that long that they'll have to contend without having one of those available. But I mean, if one or two people die right now for Golden Guardians, that would be it. They are now into the second phase of Margrave's Shadama. There's the Ashen Hallow, there's the wings. That is what is going to carry them through this phase. They are distributing their cooldowns in such a way that they always have enough for every single phase there. Fired Up is using Combustion here as well. But one of the benefits of the mage, you basically have to Combustion every single one of these phases. And they are dealing huge damage here to this fortified boss. It is phased already. They are now free to take out that extra spawn ad as some of those demons start spawning there for Yoda from that Necrolord ability.
Is that still the picture as the thing for Beyond? The icon for the Necrolord demon?
Yeah, I think so.
Very fitting, I see.
It is very reminiscent of that, as Margrave Shadama now arises for the third and final time for Golden Guardians. If they can just get through this phase, they will be taking this series 2-0 against PIME, which would be an incredible, incredible start to their weekend. But this is the hardest phase. They have to deal with all the mechanics, not just of the phase, but also of the intermissions. You can see the tentacles now starting to spawn. The ads spawned as well, as they are moving just carefully. They've done it. Golden Guardians are going to take the series here 2-0 up against PIME after a catastrophic wipe on the first boss.
That is absolutely insane. After having a ridiculously slow and painful wipe on Globgrog, which we highlighted before the match began, Golden Guardians just buckles down and is able to bring it back, take the victory, and take the sweep. I don't think anyone could have predicted this one, Zyro. What in the world?
Did you see the player cam for JB at the end there, where he like kind of gave a half fist bump, looked at the camera, and then just shrugged?